Good evening. The time is now 5 p.m. I call this meeting of the Granbury Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Normally, I tell you we're going into executive session, but tonight we are not going into executive session, so we're just going to go right on in. And we will start with invocation, and I will ask you all to bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we begin today on a very important duty for our school district as we choose a new superintendent through a new superintendent search firm. Lord, give us wisdom as we listen to each of the three firms. And Father, then I ask you to bless the firm that we choose to do what is best for Granbury Independent School District. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. And please stand for the pledge. All right, so let me give you a little background on how we're going to handle this today. We have three different superintendent search firms that we are going to talk to today. The board has a list of questions that they can ask, and then they can also ask questions of their own. I'm asking the board to please take turns asking questions. I know some of us might be a little more enthusiastic than others and want to ask a whole bunch, but I really want everyone on the dais here to have the opportunity to question each of the search firms. Now, to begin with, we do have public comments, and Monica Brown. It'll be run same way we've always done public comments. I think you know the drill.
Better? Okay. I'll just jump right in. Thank you for having this meeting. I looked at the three options, and I have some opinions about it. I want to share those. But someone asked me to ask, could you consider in addition or some way to use a community committee at some point along the way. Another request is that one of the organizations, Arrow Educational Services, they said on their website that they will do the phone calling for you to do the references, which is great, and I'm sure very normal. I'm hoping that you will find your own self and some people who will follow up with that so that people aren't snowed, and I believe that is what happened recently. And I don't want to go too far with that, but I think you can easily snow a community, unfortunately. But I was given some questions. What is your attitude if you're talking to a superintendent toward those on the school board that may not agree with you? How do you handle the differences? Because that's been a really big problem here. How would you rebuild trust and confidence in a district that's had a previously toxic culture? Can you give examples of difficult decisions you had to make that affected the entire school district, and how did you approach that? And I'm going to give you these questions. Can you tell us about your leadership style? Do they support TASB? Is that a good thing? Some people don't want TASB at all, and others are for it. And I know TASB is one of your choices tonight to choose from, and my vote is no. I know that's just an opinion. Do you have an open door policy or a closed door policy at your board meetings that will welcome citizens, community leaders, and parents, and give them the freedom to speak at meetings, which right now has been shut down?
Now, these are questions you want.
I think, okay, I'm sorry. I hate to be confusing. Yes, I'm thinking these are questions for them, and I'm sorry. in the essence of time, it's hard to be as clear, but these were questions that we would like you to ask the superintendent to check and vet them first. And how do you handle this trend of DEI that's going on, and how to help every student be welcome and all that. So there's some questions here. I've got several, and I will give them to you, and there's some more community comments that were given to me. And then as far as the three, Washington Gallegos, in my opinion, is a conflict of interest. They're already the attorneys for this organization, and in the past, they did an investigation on Mr. Dawson, and many people in the community are not happy with how that was handled with Joey, and I don't know her last name right now. And then, of course, TASB is another one that has a negative. Arrow Educational Services may be better. I don't know if I can have him pass these to you, but I do have 2 pieces of paper for each board member.
Go ahead and give those to him, and he'll give us to...
I'm sorry for being confusing.
No, that's fine.
But I appreciate, that was what I was thinking, was some thoughts from the community, questions we have that we would like to be sure this is a vetted person.
And we don't need those for now, because those are going to be for actually looking at the superintendent, not necessarily the firms.
Right, you're right. That's right.
And that's fine. I just want to make sure that we're going to use them at the correct time.
And I'm thinking communicate it with who's doing this. I know they're professionals, so I appreciate the time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And then the other one is going to be Lisa McDermott, and I do not see her today. So from that, we will move on. So let's see. The first firm we are going to see today is TASB. So we have... I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you tonight TASB's Executive Search Services proposal regarding superintendent searches. My name is George Kazanis, and I'm joined by Dr. Marion Strauss, and we are the ESS team of TASB. Just real quickly, thank you very much. Just real quickly, my background, I am a public educator. I just most recently retired from public education as a school superintendent. And it's a district very similar to yours, Midway ISD in the Waco area. It's 8,000 to 9,000 students. I was looking on your website in terms of 2 middle schools that you have feeding into 1 high school, and the number of elementaries. Also the type of community. Midway is certainly a very conservative community, and I served as superintendent almost 11 years for that district. So my background is as a superintendent, as I mentioned to you, 32 years in education, 24 of those as a superintendent in Midway, Wichita Falls, and China Spring ISD before that. Dr. Strauss, very similar in her career, also a number of school districts that she served as a superintendent. I believe retired from Pine Tree and Wimberley ISD, some of the latest ones, and served up in the Panhandle, things like that. So then that's our background. We are former superintendents now that work for TASB, and so I appreciate the opportunity of being here today. So again, as your mission statement, vision statement is to empower students to be future ready, no decision is more important to all of you than your superintendent position. And so we are here to help you with that, to have that future-ready mindset, to find that right leader that can lead Granbury ISD into the future. So let me begin real quick. I've already introduced to you 2 of the team members. Our final member is Dr. Robert Durong. Dr. Durong works in our division as well. He's, of course, a former superintendent, finished in San Antonio ISD, lives in the Waco area, numerous districts out in Socorro ISD and El Paso, distinguished career. So he joined me part-time to assist and consult with searches too. So he is part of the team. Right there for you though, why executive search services? What stands us out different from the competition or from the other firms? Number one, and first and foremost, we are your member organization. You are a member of TASB, and you participate in a number of other TASB programs. So we appreciate that continued loyalty to TASB in those programs, and the opportunity, as I said, to add executive search to the services we provide to you. As you can see with looking at that particular team of folks, in December of 2023, our former director retired, and they asked me to combine my division, which was field services, with executive search services. And so now we are one division, which has led to improved communication and streamlining our services. So those are my field service representatives all across Texas. They serve districts. They are the eyes and ears of TASB. They get into the superintendent's offices, of course, talk about programs and services, but also just listen. to the position, listen to the superintendent of their needs and wants. They also now help with superintendent searches. So part of TASB's program then would be for, if we are so hired, after it's publicized, these field service representatives also begin the advertising as well. They attend all regional service center meetings all across Texas. They're assigned to certain regions. They're able to talk about the position. I meet with them weekly, and so they get updates, things of that nature. They also, not only with recruitment, they also help with the vetting of candidates. They know these candidates, or they know those that are possibly up and coming up through the ranks as assistant or deputy superintendents. They know the districts that they have come from, and they know their backgrounds as well, and so they certainly are very helpful with the information. By combining both of those divisions then, again, to me, it has made our division even stronger. As I mentioned earlier, this was a service asked of our board members back in 1988. And so to this point, we have served, to this point, really well over 800 school districts across Texas in superintendent searches. You see in our portfolio, the materials I have left for you there, our search history just over the last few years. But we've served a number of districts from small, medium, and large, urban, suburban, and rural at the request of our members. And so we collaborate with you because this is your process. I want to be sure that that is crystal clear. You hire us as a school board. We work for you as a school board, and we will help and design the search according to your wishes as a school board. That is your role and our role to listen to that and guide you along the way and help you along the way, but this is your search. And so we will certainly assist you and communicate with you throughout the process. Our fee is all inclusive. You're not going to have additional fees. It's one set fee for no additional travel regarding the superintendent search process. So I just wanted to be clear about that. So let's quickly talk about our search kickoff, our search process after we are hired. We would then love to visit with you in a called meeting or one of your regular meetings about a timeline. Generally speaking, we'd like to look at about 3 months for a superintendent search, but again, it's your search. You can tell us that if you have different wants and wishes regarding the timeline, regarding the superintendent search, but we will review that with you because it is a commitment. One thing we ask, and we firmly ask, is that all school board members are present, all board members participate. They participate in all of the vetting, they participate in all of the interviews, and all 7 of you will be there for that. That's just one of our, I guess, golden rules. And so we want to review that timeline so that you all have those commitments and dates well ahead of time on your schedule. We also like to finalize qualities and characteristics. We certainly have our research in some of the main qualities that you're going to be looking for in a superintendent. However, we realize, though, this is your search in your community. It certainly was stated earlier in public comment tonight. And so what we like to do is get out and also be in your community to learn more about your community and hear from your community. So we do that in a number of ways. Community involvement certainly involves our relationship with you. We certainly can offer one-on-one meetings with each board member to learn about your hopes and dreams and aspirations for your next superintendent. But we also can do an online survey that we can publish off of your website. Your communication team can promote and through social media channels so that your public, your constituents, your staff members, can participate in that. But we also can do in-person community forums. And we find in a lot of communities that's really effective as well. There are folks that prefer to come into a community meeting, talk about this particular process. We're able to share the timeline. We're able to share that. We're also able to talk about talk about the positive aspects of Granbury ISD. We're able to hear the positive aspects of your community. Because for a new superintendent, we want to be sure also that we understand not only the district, but Granbury, Texas. We want to be sure we also promote your city to our candidates so that they see themselves and their families living in your community too. So that's really important. We also want to hear, though, what are issues, concerns, things like that, so that we can prepare that and share that information with you as a board member. And then also we look at personal characteristics. We also look at professional. We ask about those 2 things that you would like to see in your next superintendent. So we find these community sessions very, very beneficial, not only for us as your search consultant, but for you as a board. We then summarize and prepare a report for you that we then provide you before we screen applicants. So during the search, as I mentioned to you, we will house the application system at TASB on our program called VidCruiter. One of the benefits of our system, though, is that it does contain a video component. So not only are your candidates applying, submitting traditionally resumes, cover letters, other supporting documentation like copies of transcripts and certifications, they also are asked to complete about a 3 to 4 minute video on some certain questions. That gives you, as board members, a bird's eye view into who this individual is. You can see the name and the face at the same time, see how he or she responds to the questions. Just gives you one more tool to use when you're screening applications. And one of the things we also want to make crystal clear about TASB and our process is that it's an open process to all of you as board members. We do not pre-select candidates for you. We recruit candidate pools for you, but you have access to all candidates. You will have easy instructions to follow after the application period closes, how you would go online to look at the different candidates and their credentials, their papers, this video, even before you meet with Dr. Strauss and I to look at the candidates and determine which ones you want to interview. So those are the things that are going on in this application process. So once we have a deadline for applications, then we will come in and visit with you about which ones that individually maybe rose to the top in your assessment. And so we found that process very informative. We want each one of you to do that individually and then come together in a closed session of a board meeting to discuss that. Dr. Strauss and I are certainly going to do our share of our work. We certainly are going to look through every single candidate. We're going to also do our own vetting in terms of folks we feel like might be a good match for your district. However, we wait to get your cue about when you want to hear from us, because we want to hear each one of you first, which candidates might rise to the top, and then we can share more information with you about it. So we do. At that particular junction, we share what we know about candidates, their records of success, their background, things like that, to help you make an informed decision before selecting them to come in to interview. We always suggest a first round of an interview. That is a very scripted type of interview. You want to be fair. There were great questions that were offered to you this afternoon in public comment, but you choose those questions, you ask them of every single candidate so there's a fair and impartial way to compare each and every candidate. We generally recommend about 90 minutes for that first round. After that, though, then you will discuss and determine who you would like to bring back for a second round interview. We highly, highly suggest that you have a second round. It's a first round. This, as you all know, there are individuals that may do well in an interview in a first round, 90 minutes. However, in a second round interview, it's certainly informal. You all will discuss as a board things that you would like to learn more about your top candidates. It could be 2, could be 3 candidates that you bring back for a second round. This is an opportunity maybe to have a light reception, maybe meet the candidate, his or her spouse and family, things of that nature, and learn more about them, but then go into, again, the interview. With the candidates, you might learn more about them. You might ask them about a program that they mentioned in the interview, and it may be great because they have all the details. They talk passionately about it. But on the other hand, they may have just known a little bit about it, and you realize someone else was doing that. It wasn't necessarily the part. So I'm just giving you examples of why the second round interview is crucial. And then finally, after you have finished your second round, we call it a person of interest. And we highly recommend possibly a site visit to the district. And so a contingency of the board, not a quorum of the board, but 3 or less of you would visit the candidate's district. And the candidate will help us assist with that. That's only one person. We're not asking or suggesting that you go to other districts of the other candidates you interview, just your person of interest that you're thinking about naming as your lone finalist. We'll set that up. They'll have interviews, visit with folks like other board members, community members, staff members. You get a chance, hopefully, to to tour the community, look at facilities, things like that. Maybe have lunch on your own. So we highly recommend a site visit. So after that, of course, in state law, all of this process has been confidential so far regarding your superintendent candidates. At this juncture, when you name the lone finalist, it's all out there. And so, as you know, in state law requires a 21-day waiting period. And so TASB will come in and certainly help your board president talk about contract, things of that nature. We highly suggest you use your legal counsel in that area too. Work through those 21 days with the contract, because after 21 days, then you vote to hire the candidate. And then the start date, of course, will be negotiable at that point, when you would like to see this individual begin working in your district. But one of the things, if you're looking there at the slide that we do, I think it stands us apart than some of the competition, is we offer a board transition workshop. We work, Dr. Strauss and I, in collaboration with our board development services. You've been to a lot of our events. You've been to possibly the Summer Leadership or the TexEd Con coming up, other training events. Board Development Services provides individual training to board members in districts, and they'll come out and work on a transition. We suggest this maybe after 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, somewhere along that line, so that communication is clear. Communication is key. Clarity is our friend at this particular junction with a new superintendent. And so I just want to talk about some of those things. It's a team building workshop, could lead to further discussion regarding your district strategic plan, your district's long range goals, the superintendent evaluation system, things like that. So we help lead you along the way with that. So that's board credit. And I failed to mention earlier, when you're reviewing applications and working with Dr. Strauss and I, you also receive board credit. So you do receive up to 6 hours as a bonus of board credit along the way. So these are just some testimonials of some districts that have worked with us. Those are in your packets as well. Our search highlights. One of the things that I'd like to share with you in your handout there, if you don't mind, is all of this information that I've shared with you, you do have a copy of in some form or fashion. Not the PowerPoint per se, but some of the highlights that I've mentioned to you. If you look, though, on the right-hand side of your folder there, you'll see, of course, a summary of our superintendent search process. I found this to be very helpful, step-by-step process for you. That is in there for your review. And then, of course, our search history. And we were proud to do over 20 searches last school year, the 23-24 school year. We are excited about this new school year and possibly serving the Granbury community and Granbury ISD along the way. But before I close, I would like to, you've heard from me, as the search consultant possibly for your district, but I think what's most important as a board of trustees is that you hear from another board member that has used us. And so if we could, would you mind showing that, ma'am, the video? Real quickly, it's only 1.5 minutes.
So when we were going into the search process, we had not, as a school district, hired a superintendent from the outside in a very long time.
Everyone has such a vested interest in what decision we make. And so we really wanted the community to feel like they were a part of the process and know what was going on, involve them as much as we could, and be transparent with them.
And so we did listen and learns with community members, different, the Chamber of Commerce and the different government entities and county entities and people like that.
It wasn't so much that TASB had large district experience or not, it was who has a lot of experience with diverse communities, and TASB has that in spades.
If we're not at work, we're chasing our kids somewhere after hours too. And so to have a group come in and do all the legwork and know all of the scheduling processes you have to follow, we don't know that.
Yeah, ESS did a great job leading the board through the process. There's a lot of legalities and that sort of thing. We needed somebody that could kind of coach us through that and make sure that we weren't falling in a ditch on either side and helping us understand how that timeline works.
I felt more confident in the decision-making process because I didn't have to worry about all the timing issues or the scheduling.
And so I would say if you're looking for a group that's got a lot of experience with diverse communities, that's cost-effective, that's willing to listen and work with trustees, TASB is a good choice for you.
It was the best decision for us to go with them to help us because they really guided us through the process, but the whole time it remained within our control.
And now we got the perfect fit, yeah. And she's going to be here for the next 30 years, so she never gets to retire. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for indulging us with that. Questions?
All right. So looking at that, I saw mostly small school districts, but then Arlington, larger school districts. Do you have a particular size district that you've done most of your work with?
No. Go ahead.
No, we've seen there are more mid-sized school districts in the state of Texas than any other. The number of large districts, of course, is smaller, but we tend to do some of each every year.
So most recently, if you're looking at the last page of your handouts there, we did in the searches in, for example, Brenham, but we also did Corsicana with almost 6,000 students. We also were in Hutto with a little over 10,000 students.
Okay.
We were also in Bernie, as you saw in the testimonial, of 10,000 students. A little bit larger, almost 15,000, though, short Cibolo, Universal City near San Antonio. So as Dr. Strauss is saying, we do have a wide range. We will serve a student population of 200 kids if they ask us. We are a member-driven organization. So we adapt our process to the member we're serving. So we had adapted it to Arlington ISD with 50,000 plus. I'm currently working in Socorro ISD starting last year, and we're finishing up some things out in El Paso, 40,000 pluses. We just finished United this summer in Laredo area, 40,000 students. So those may look a little bit different. But we certainly have experience in your size district. Last year too, San Benito, forgot, they have 8,000 students down in the valley, in Sherryland, very similar. So we will serve all. I know Dr. Strauss served Prairie Lee near San Marcos too, a very, very small district. And so we're on the road a lot on our team, but having our field service team members together has benefited us greatly, tremendously. We have boots on the ground all across Texas because we want to recruit and find the best candidate for you for here in Granbury, Texas.
Okay.
I have two quick questions. The first
Yes.
one is you mentioned for under planning meeting, examples of community involvement. Can you give me an example of what that outreach to the community would look like?
Sure. We will, if you would prefer, we can talk to you first too about that. What you would like to see as board members for community outreach. But traditionally, I would call them a community forum, town hall, in the sense that we invite, we ask your communication department to publicize when these community meetings are. We suggest this. We suggest that it's either over a day or two, depending upon how many we need to address. But Dr. Strauss and I like to talk to maybe your leadership team as a smaller group, the principals and administrators of your district. We highly recommend separate meetings with faculty and staff. Maybe an elementary, intermediate level meeting, then a secondary, junior high, high school meeting. Then we go into the community. We certainly, in the past, we can recommend meetings, for example, with your chamber, with your business community, and business leaders. It could be by invitation. As I said, when we talk with you and work with you, you could give us lists, things like that, if folks you think would be wise would like to personally invite to a meeting like that. We certainly want to have open meetings too. And we like to look at those wherein people can come to the meeting. So is that during lunchtime? We would suggest those, maybe 5:36, right before folks are rushing home to feed the children and homework and go to bed, things like that. So we also try to have meetings at that particular time. So it's not only the two of us, as you saw my team, we can come in and we can have others assisting us to facilitate those discussions along the way too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy, do you have anything?
I appreciate your presentation. It was very thorough, answered a lot of questions
thank
that I
you.
had. So I appreciate y'all coming up and presenting this to us, and just the knowledge that you've served in districts of all sizes, I think is extremely important. Kind of have a feel for what's going on in our educational community and who is available and would possibly be interested in taking this position. So I don't have any additional questions.
Okay.
Thank
Mike?
you.
Great job on the presentation. It did answer a lot of my questions.
thank you.
So unless one pops in my head, I don't have any additional questions right now.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. Again, you answered a lot of the questions. I do have one, though. How do you currently, if you're conducting searches in other districts, how do you balance that with doing a search for us and not conflict with what we're looking for?
Sure. I'm going to start and then I'll add.
This is all that we do, our team, the team of three, that we do this full time. And so we feel like we have the best knowledge and the experience to do several districts at once. it may not be that way. Right now, we have 4 or 5 going on, but fall is usually fairly busy. But we feel like we can handle whatever comes up. And I guess I always refer to a specialist in the medical field. You know, you want to go to somebody that knows and has the experience, not someone that has 1 patient or 2 patients. You know, so we feel like we bring the best value, and we are your organization. We represent you as a school board, and we take that very seriously.
And also, Ms. Gore, too, on the slide with all of the team members, we have a program coordinator, and her name is Joy Rivera. So she's also in the office. We mentioned Dr. Duran and Dr. Strauss and me, but she's behind the scenes. So she's able to answer your questions if I'm not able, or we're not able to immediately. She's able to assist candidates through that app, through our system if they have questions. She's able to remind us, she schedules us also in terms of dates and things like that. One of the key factors is looking at your timing and other timing, and we're going to be very careful and cognizant of that too, though. But I go back to this, is what distinguishes us is how involved we want to be with you, because it's your search, not ours. We want to be involved with you to learn about Granbury ISD and the city and the community, and that's how you distinguish it from the other searches that we're doing, because just because it's here, candidates may not be the right fit versus another part of the state or level of experience that he or she may have coming to you. So I think that's what, in my view, sets us apart.
So would y'all, if we chose TASB, would y'all be our point of contact? How many
Yes.
point of contacts would we have?
Yes, it'd be the two of us.
The two of y'all, okay.
Would be at every meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
Sure.
Tell me the ways that you're going to vet a candidate. What are you going to look at?
Of course, when you're vetting a candidate, I believe you all realize they're going to submit transcripts, going to submit certifications. That's, to me, the baseline level. After the vetting aspect of it includes then really knowing their body of work, knowing the body of work that they have produced in their district. We can help you along the way as well, looking at performance. If they're a current superintendent, as I said, or if they're aspiring like a deputy or assistant, what type of work they had done in their district, success levels they had seen. We do a lot of talking and a lot of asking, again, colleagues about the candidates. We want to know about their style, in addition to the more of the black and white success they've done, but what is their style? And that's, again, going back to knowing your district and being able to know Granbury ISD and what would be the best perfect fit, because a lot of candidates will be qualified to do the job, but who fits the perfect fit? So for me, best example I can give you, we were at the stage in Waco ISD, I was conducting that search. They have their lone finalist. They had 51 applications, and they now have 1. But it really, truly was about vetting, determining, though, which ones, at the juncture Waco ISD is in, at this moment, who would be the best person, the best fit. And we have that information from our phone calls, not only the references, I think, again, in public comment was mentioning, yes, we have formal references that we will do, but we will then, of course, if that's your will, work with the committee of the board to look at those and those if you want to talk firsthand. You also do that, of course, on that site visit. That's why we highly recommend that site visit. You can have an opportunity to visit with the candidates, board members too. But that is truly vetting. If there are other aspects of it, we certainly can accomplish that for you. There's the formal, as you know, any individual in a school district had been through the fingerprinting process, all of that. We certainly can be sure that that's accomplished as well for you. And then, of course, they'll do it again once they're hired and officially go through your system too. So they'll be well vetted in that regard.
Well, thanks for the presentation. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate that. What's the typical number of candidates that you normally bring forth initially to a
Yeah.
school system?
Again, my answer may be, I'm not going to say it depends, but it depends somewhat on the district. I've learned that. I think Dr. Strauss could say she's had more years of experience in doing the searches than I have, but used to be a pretty common candidate pool, maybe closer to 60, right?
60 or 70.
But that's not the case.
But that is not the case.
That is not today's world of superintendent candidates. However, I just mentioned to you 51 that was public because the news covered it in Waco. I can say that 51 in Waco. So Waco, its location matters. You all are in an ideal location, close to the Metroplex, but a lot of amenities in this community. It's your district's proven success. It's your district's facilities that candidates will look for. Candidates will do their homework too, but we firmly believe you will draw. For the most part, sir, now about 30 have been on average. I would anticipate more than 30 though for your district.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I have one more question. When you're talking about applicant videos, will the public have access to see those videos, or is that something
It's a
that has to be
confidential
kept
process.
confidential?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
You
that's
will.
what I thought.
You will.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anybody? All right, thank you very much for coming.
Ms. Townsend and the board, thank you all very much for the opportunity to be here. Marion and I really do appreciate it.
What we're hoping to do is go through the three, and then we will, in public here, make a decision, and I will contact everybody tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you
Good luck
so
to you.
much.
Best wishes.
All right, and our next search firm is going to be Arrow, if you would call them. Thank you.
Lobby's getting in. Anybody drive a gray Lexus RX 350?
Lexus, that's Kim Farm.
Gray Lexus?
Yeah.
Parked out here? Okay. If it's not yours, then you have no reason to be upset. I did not check that.
Yeah, that's probably where it is.
Once Daryl's back, I'll check.
Thank you. I'm sorry?
No. Somebody
Okay.
just bumped in the parking lot. It's not bad. It's just, if you drive a Lexus, though, you assume that you probably don't want to bump.
I was thinking their vehicle's gonna be towed, they're gonna come out.
No, nothing like that. No, there's a minor bump in the parking lot. Nothing. How are you?
Double escort here, that's,
We take good care of our people.
take good care of your people. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Nice to finally meet you. Hello, Barbara Townsend. Nice to meet you.
Half of you smiling, half of you awful serious. Nice.
All right, Dr. Marshall is here for Arrow Search Firm.
I am. Let me get my calendar up here where I'll,
You go right ahead.
all right. Wow, Madam Chairman, members of the board, citizens. Did you get me good, okay? Like she's. I am Russell Marshall. I'm here with my business partner, Jim Dunlap, and we're here tonight representing my company, Arrow Educational Services. I started Arrow 26 years ago with the express purpose of providing support, assistance, and training for school board members and trustees. Pretty quickly, we found our niche to be superintendent search support. And over the past 26 years, we've done over 210, right at 210 searches across the state. You're going to find some other firms will tell you they've done several hundred, but to the best of my knowledge, there's not a person above ground breathing air today that's done more in the state of Texas than I have, and Jim's actually number 2. He joined me on my 35th search. But we're here tonight to talk to you about the possibility of working with you as you do the most important thing you'll be asked to do as a board, and that's to hire your next superintendent. About 70 to 80% of all searches are done the same, whether you use one of the other two searches or you do it yourself. So why are we different? I want to talk about that tonight, but I'm not going to talk, I want to leave time at the end for you to ask questions, because the one thing I request from you tonight is don't let us walk out that door with any questions. Don't assume, well, I asked that, I know the answer. Don't assume. Give us the questions and let us talk to you, because what we're going to do is if you hire us, remember this, you're not hiring us to tell you who to hire. You're hiring us to recruit, and we'll get into that later, but also to tell you who not to hire. Our job is to walk with you as we do the search, as we bring the next man or woman into this district that's going to be a superstar, the person that's going to unite you, the person that's going to be the face of this district, the person that's going to be able to not only be successful in this room or in their office in this building, but on these campuses and in the community and the town and the communities around and the different people. I know you've got a very, very diverse community here, and you're going to need a leader that's going to be able to reach out to the different people and to hear the needs, because we all, especially in this day and age, we have so many different needs, and we're going to need a communicator that's going to be able to be your biggest cheerleader. And in a search, that's where we are. We're going to be your biggest cheerleader, and we're going to talk about that too. I'll talk about the formality of it, but you've already heard that from one, you're going to hear it from another, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling you about the formality, because there are certain things you have to do. I'm going to tell you how we're going to be different. First of all, we're going to cut the widest swath. We're going to throw the farthest net. Why? Because after 26 years of doing this, we know the people and people know us. No, we don't have a bunch of regional people out there that people really don't want to see come into their office. We've got the connections. We're gonna get called whether we do your search or not. People are going to call me and say, Dr. Marshall, what do you think? Is it a good one? There's 3 ways you're going to get your top candidates. Number one, we're going to cast the net, and people are going to see it. Great job. They're going to do their homework. Hey, Granbury's a good spot. I'm turning in. Number 2, you are going to have people tell you, like, maybe this gentleman says, I got a cousin that lives in Deep East Texas. And I'll just throw out an example. Old Mid Johnson in Templeton, it's my hometown. My cousin goes to church with him. Great guy. I'd like to put his name in. We're going to get this. You may give us names. But probably the most common factor in a district like this, quality and size, is we're going to recruit. And I'm going to tell you this, we're never going to apologize for knowing a superstar, okay? But when we bring people to you, and I'll talk about that too, we're always going to, we play our cards hands up. We don't have hold cards. We communicate, and we give you all the good, we give you all the bad. Okay, good, the bad, and ugly, right? I expected somebody to start whistling back there. So how will this work? If you hire us, what we'll do, we'll start preparing, and we'll talk to you on how you want us to help do the profile. Some districts want to have a big meeting, and then you show up, and several people show up, and they give you input on the characteristics you're looking for. What we found is very, very effective is our online survey. And here's why, because especially with employees. In the old days, what we would do is we would come have meetings after school. Well, guess what the last thing a third grade teacher wants to do? Any teachers in here? What's the last thing they want to do at 4:30 or 5 o'clock on a Tuesday? Is go to another meeting. They want to go home and be with their families. But let me tell you, after they put the kids to bed and they're relaxing that night, they'll open up their iPad and they'll look and they'll say, wow, we like this. They want our input. What are the best things about this district? What are the challenges in this district? what are the personal and professional qualifications we want in this district? And so we start putting, how many do we have at Little Elm? Yeah, I think we broke a record there. We got so much input. And they were a district that had some challenges at the time too, as far as bringing people together. And so we will work with you however you want it on, but that's going to be your call on putting together a profile. I say a lot of times it's like painting a portrait. You know, I don't know, you may be excellent painters. I'm horrible, but say that middle picture, the boy turning two at second, right? Say that's a blank slate. And I give each of you a small amount, to keep me tied to this, I'm sorry if I walk. I give each of you a little bit of paint. And you all walk over, you have just enough paint to put your input into that portrait. None of you have enough paint to paint the masterpiece. But what I hope is after we're through and we get everybody's input, what we do is we unveil it, and then we've got a beautiful portrait of the next man or woman that's going to lead the Granbury Independent School District. And that's what we'll do. Then we'll come together, we'll talk about our portrait, we'll talk about the things we're looking at. Now, honestly, when you got it, we're not going to be able to get that exact person. But we're looking for stuff like, do we want them to have previous experience? Do we want them to have a doctor? Do we want them to have worked 5 years or more in the classroom before the move? We'll put all that together. That's our job, to hold hands with you and walk together. After that, we will have set a calendar. I think a good calendar for you starts somewhere around the first or second week in October. I would suggest, of course, it's going to be your search, but we're going to suggest that you probably close that thing somewhere November-ish, middle. You can come back and do the interviews probably early, mid-December. I would think you would have somebody named and be able to be here for the second semester, if that's what you want. If you want to push it to the spring, we can push it to the spring. Wouldn't be our suggestion, but again, that's what you'll do. So we put it out there. How do we put it out there? Well, we put it on the TASNet. We put it out where everybody else puts it out. The major teaching universities, the region service centers, to all of our contacts. We bring them all in. We will bring you every name. If you know, some firms say we're only going to bring you top 5, top 6. No, we're going to bring you every name. You will have an alphabetical list that night. Say you have 30 apps. Who they are, what they do, and where they do it. Ann Adams, Deputy Superintendent, Dallas. Bob Bean, Superintendent, Shelbyville, all the way through. We will go through, now honestly, obviously you're not going to pass to go, so you have to go through 35. We're going to come back then and talk to you about how these people fit your profile. And we will talk and probably help you narrow that night to your top 8 or 10. It'll be pretty obvious, but we will bring every application to you. So if you, Mike, if you look and say, well, what about this person on the list, They really look, I want to see their stuff. Guess what? Jim's going to go over, he's going to pick the application up, he's going to bring it to you. And you're probably going to look through it, hand it back, smile, and say thank you. And you're going to understand why we didn't have them at the top. But that's what you're hiring us for. You're hiring us for our influence, for our knowledge, but mainly you're hiring us to walk with you on this journey. To walk with you on this journey. So, the night that we do the cut or the sift, then we'll narrow it down. There's not a magic number. We've had districts say, well, we just actually like these 4. That's top. And we've had one that did 11. And then they didn't hire any of those. We had to go back for and that's what we'll do. So we'll come back and do that with you. We work through, we do all the background work for you. We do all the working with the candidates. And remember this, because we never forget. We work with candidates. We work for the board that hires us. And that's important because you're not hiring us to get our buddy a job. Now, remember what I told you, we'll never apologize for knowing a superstar. We've had boards that we've worked with, hired people that we've known for 20 years, and we've hired people that have hired superintendents that we didn't know until they first applied. So that's not what we're about. We're about zeroing in and focusing on what's best for Granbury schools, if you hire us. So then we'll come back, we'll go through the process with you, we work with you on interview questions. Our job's to present you in the best possible way, because these folks can read too. They can read the newspaper, they can read board meeting minutes, and so, our job's also to be able to answer questions honestly with them. How can we come into a district that's at sometimes fractured in areas? Okay? I mean, tell it like it is. We got to be able to talk to those people and say, yes, it's a good job. And you know what? We do our homework. And if we didn't believe it, I wouldn't have driven 2 hours tonight just so that I could get a police escort in here, although that was cool. Thank you, sir, by the way. And to be on whatever time. I've got you. You're getting my best side, aren't you, ma'am? I appreciate that. It's fun, isn't it, Mr. Dunlap? And he claims he's got a prettier tie than me, but I don't know. We may have. So, but we'll put you in the right light. We will help. We will put you a booklet together. We'll go through the questions. Now, what does an interview process look like with ours? Very similar to some others. We'll bring the candidates in, depending on how many you narrative. We'll probably reserve 3 nights for your interviews, and interviews will last hour and 45 minutes. The first round, we want to have 7 questions each for you. We'll break it down and hopefully have 22 questions, because we have one at the end. The first round is very structured, because we're looking, is our office over here, this direction, when I point? Okay, this way. All right, what we're looking for in the first round is we're looking to narrow it down and interview, say, 6, magic number, 6 men and women that can go in there, close that door, and do the job. Then when you go through, we're going to try to narrow down to your top 2, maybe 3, sometimes 1. And then you're looking for the man or woman that can not only be in there, do that job, but can open that door and do what I said earlier, go out in the community and be the face of your school district. After that, we'll work with your attorney. I'll tell you also, we've known Dr. Dixon for many, many years. We have no problem working with her. We'll be able to bounce some things off of her. But if you hire us, you're hiring us to do the job, because she's got a job. So we won't be, saying, hey, will you do this or that? Now, maybe. So then we'll come back and have the 21 days and time to offer somebody a job. So I can promise you this, you'll get the best of us. Mr. Dunlap and I together, we've got right at 100 years in school and education, children. I retired from Maybank 4 years ago after 16 years there. Did you give them that yet? Go ahead and give them to them. They can go through it. 16 years there. Jim retired from what I think is one of the 2 top districts east of I-35. He's watching you, Jim. I like these guys. He was at Hallsville, done a lot of interns. He's currently at Henderson, and I'm helping Maybank out now while they're trying to get it back together. So, Madam Chairman, I'd like to close my part of it now and let y'all just please ask questions, because if we want, if we didn't think we were your best option, we wouldn't be here tonight. We have no other searches going on right now. I think you'll see in there about 2/3 of the way through. I think we did 11 or 12 last year. We've done 4 or 5 this year, and we kind of shut it down for the summer. We both need a little bit of a break and catch our breath. But this fall, you'll be the you'll have our efforts, you'll have our all of our energy. And that's what we want. If we're the best, hire us. If not, hire who is. And we'll wish you the best. But please ask us questions, and I'm going to ask Jim to join me. As they said one time in Rogers, Texas, we got y'all figured out. And I said, what's that? They said, you do all the talking, he's the smart one. And I think one of those is obvious. The other part, the jury's still out. We've been friends for 30 years.
I love it. Can you tell me some of the ways you're going to vet the candidates for us?
Yeah. The best way is, and that's a great question too, Era Educational Services, Inc., right? We can do some things that you can't do. We can dig a little deeper. I always call it, as my daddy used to say, scaring up Ken. I grew up in Deep East Texas, Shelby County. My daddy could get a wrong number and talk an hour. And so what we do is we don't just talk to their references. We dig deeper, we find out. And on top of that, I think that's very important to look at, because if somebody, there's some bad superintendents out there. There's some bad boards out there too. So, it's our job to come to you, as I said earlier, with the cards face up. And we say, okay, here's this situation, here's what happened to her in this district, and here's what we believe. And we give you that. But we have a knack of knowing enough people that we call the people that we know will not lie to us. What's the old saying, the past the trash? We will not, your eyes will be wide open and you will know everything about your top candidates. If not, we got surprised. And, could tell you one or two times out of 208 or however many, there's one or two like that. But we don't quit working until the end. In fact, we don't after that. We stay connected even years later. Yes, ma'am. Other questions, please.
Do you, what size districts do you typically work with? Have you worked with a lot?
Yeah, I would say if you went back and looked totally, I'd say our sweet spot's going to be somewhere in the, we've done a lot of small, but we've done some, kind of that medium, just right at you, like that 3,000 to 5,000-ish. Although, last year or the year before, time flies, Cleburne, Little Elm, those kind, we've hit those. But that's important, Mr. Moore, because you say, well, they've done some, more like the Glen Rose. Glen Rose has hired 2 superintendents in 25 years, and we've done both of those searches. And you say, well, if they've worked with some smaller districts, where do you think your talent pool is going to come from? Huh? I used to tease Mike Moses about that. He'd say, he calls me Rusty. That was my nickname growing up. He said, Rusty, he said, you keep putting those good ones in those smaller districts. He said, and then I can put them in the bigger ones. They're proven. And so, you don't want somebody that's going to come in here and tell you they do all the 6As. You want, because I promise you somebody that's sitting 6A is not going to come here, for the opportunity to live on the lake, and take the cut that they would take from their job. And so is that a good enough answer on that? I'll quit talking. We know those people. Ms. Graff, I know you're going to ask something. Come on.
Are you aware of any issues in our district that may inhibit a successful search?
No, not if unless we're telling them it's all about rainbows and unicorns. If we're honest with people, I think good quality applicants are not scared of a challenge. A true leader can lead in times of conflict and turmoil as well as in times when everything's going well. And in fact, sometimes that's the mark of a true leader, one that can come in. I think if we're honest, in which we will be, we're not going to lie for or to anybody. And I think that's going to be very important. Your question's really deeper than might appear. And I like that because, what makes somebody leave a warm bed for what's considered a cold floor, right? If they're somewhere really good and they, you know what, they don't know they're looking until we call them sometimes, and we talk them through it. And they say, well, wait a minute, I think failed 3 bonds, don't they have a little split in there? Yeah, they have, but let me talk to you about it. And then sometimes I just say, you know what, sounds to me like you're scared or you don't have the confidence that you can do it, so we'll see you when something's easy, you know? And that's what it ought to be. I mean, I'm sure there's all kind of diverse opinions in here, but if we broke out into just a little session, I'm sure we could all find some common ground. And that's what you got to find first. You bring it back to the middle and find common ground. Too many people are worried now about winning at all costs. We got to go back and understand, you know, your true leader's going to come in here and they're going to keep the main thing. And that's the children of Granbury ISD. And second is the employees, and third is the taxpayers/citizens. And sometime not in that order. I was asked one time, said, don't we always do what's best for kids? And I said, no. Well, how dare you? And I said, well, sometimes you can. I said, do you realize that, you know, back in those days, statistics showed that the best student-teacher ratio in elementary was either between 11 and 14 to 1. I bet you don't have any 11 to 14 to 1 elementaries. Why? Because you'd be broke. And that wouldn't be best for the taxpayers, and it also wouldn't be best for the employees because they would all have to find other jobs. So what we got to have is somebody that understands the main thing is the children in education, their safety and their education, first and foremost. But then they've also got to be a leader that can put the other pieces together that make it work, that paint that portrait I talked about. You fire me up over that one. I like it, yeah. No, we got to have somebody that's got nerve. They got to have nerve. They got to have nerve to agree with this man, disagree with this man.
I have one more question. So are you a preacher part-time?
No, but y'all got me fired up tonight. I mean, I do about 20 board trainings a year, and I did one last week, and I told him, I said, I thought you would never bring me back because the year before I got fired up.
Well, that might be another calling for you.
Yeah, well, maybe so. I tell you what, they may throw me back, but thank you. But I'm passionate. We're not here for our health tonight. We're here to work with this school board and this school district in bringing the superstar you deserve to sit in that chair. That's what we promise you if you hire us. Nothing more and nothing less. And I hope I don't come across too much that I'm trying to sell something, or I hope the passion's real. If it's not, don't hire me. Don't hire us.
Billy? Anything?
Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir. Third search I ever did was Wimberley. Wimberley, thank you.
I appreciate your passion. I appreciate the information and taking the time to drive up here tonight to speak with us.
Any other questions? Come on, don't let us hit that door. Read our information. Call our references. We put some in there. We could have filled that book up with references. But I guarantee you call any of those and just tell them, say, don't lie to me, and they won't. You have any questions of Jim?
So it's pretty obvious that our contact's going to be the two of you.
We don't have anybody else. It's just that it's us. Yes, ma'am.
I love it.
And one of us will be at every meeting, except we don't sit in on interviews. Some firms, we don't, because we don't want you to turn around then and say, what'd you think about what he said? Because at some point we get you ready and you hire your man or woman, we go back to our homes and you know, we're successful and you're successful. But we're going to have you ready. I'm telling you, you're going to be, and there's not a doubt that you're going to have superstars. My doubt is always the most common thing we get is when they narrowed it to, can we hire them both? And I think one time somebody did that. Was it Maynard did that? Maynard down in the Austin area. Someone together.
Made one a deputy and one the super?
Yeah. One year later brought the other guy back because he told him the truth. He said, I want to be here and I want my family here. And they hired the other guy and they said they had an assistant job, and one of the board members said, let's see if he was telling the truth. And they called him, and he was telling the truth. He came to work for him. It's all great. So, are y'all planning to decide tonight?
Yes,
So
we
will
are.
you call us either way so that
Absolutely.
we don't go to sleep
Absolutely.
one way or the other? So it's
Yeah.
not sleep.
What
Any
we're
other-
planning on doing is, we have one more to listen to, and then
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and publicly, debate this and make a decision tonight, and I will call everyone tomorrow.
Okay, and if any question on what I said, y'all just, this lady here, she's got it down. You got me down? You got me down.
Well, we also live stream this, so who knows how many thousands
Oh, my
of people
goodness.
are watching.
We did that, so I'm doing a community deal at Little Elm about a year and a half ago. And all of a sudden, I said, "Now I'm going to tell y'all," I said, "here's my cell number," and I am preaching that night, man. It was a cold night. And I looked down at my phone, and I looked, it said, "I'm watching you online, I have a question." I looked up, "We're online?" And I said, "Okay." So it's good. So, well, we appreciate you. And yes, you're looking at us. It's us.
Okay, Nancy, did you have anything?
No, I just want to know if Jim can talk.
See, then, that was the final thing. Go ahead. See why I don't talk? That's what I was going to say. Just before we walked out, I was going to say, I can talk, but sometimes I don't get a chance to. And so you understand why.
We had a board said that one night. They called us and said, well, they want to hire y'all, but
Jim didn't say anything. Well, I talk, he works, So, no, he's 40, how many years in the business? 50?
Over 50.
Over 50. He retired. I'll tell you how good he is. Hallsville, which is a really good district, he retired and they didn't get it right. They brought him back, and then they did it again, then brought back, and he said, "Look, I'll just stay." He had a grandson in the district. He said, "I'll stay till we get it right this time," and he groomed a young man, and they got it right that time. So,
Well, I appreciate y'all being here. It's good to have good educators in the room, looking for good educators for our district. So thank you for what you do, and we appreciate your knowledge and your experience.
Thank you very much, and we do. We wish you the best. Hire who you feel you're most comfortable with, and who will put you that star in that seat. And we appreciate you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank y'all so much.
Good folks.
Safe travels home.
can I get in the courthouse?
And we have one more to go. You're going to go. You must admit, this is entertaining. Hello, hello. We now have Walsh Gallegos, and they will make their presentation.
I have some packets for the board.
Okay, give it to him, and he will take care of it for us. Thank you.
Can I proceed beyond the line?
Please.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'll let y'all get your materials.
Ooh.
We good? Okay,
All
great.
right, thank you.
Well, it's good to see everyone tonight. Of course, you guys know me. I'm Joey Moore. I'm with Walsh Gallegos. I am y'all's outside general counsel. And we wanted to present to you tonight the services that we can provide for you guys for your superintendent search. So you will see in the packet, I'm going to do a brief presentation about the firm's role in it. But of course, our system is we use an educational consultant who you might know, a lady named Dr. Ann Dixon. So she'll be talking to you about the services she performs as an educational consultant, okay? So I probably won't do as much other than to just tell you what you see in here. Of course, we have Dr. Dixon's resume that talks about the searches that she's performed. Also, it'll show that the ones that she's been the interim superintendent while she has performed those searches. You have my bio there, but most of you know me. And I just kind of wanted to explain the unique role of what the firm does as we work with Dr. Dixon. So you guys know when the law firm represents a school district, we gain knowledge that is protected by privilege, right? So if I have knowledge about a candidate, for example, in another school district, I cannot release that to the district that is performing the search. That's why we partner with an educational consultant who does all your vetting and all of your search information because of my legal obligations under my ethical obligations as a lawyer. What my role is and what the firm's role is really to provide support to Dr. Dixon in the way of clerical, in the way of managing all the applications, handling that stuff for you guys, and then my role would certainly be related to the legal aspects of a superintendent search. For example, there's some information in your packet that talks about different types of background searches you can do. That is very limited and sensitive information. We can't release that directly to the client, but we can provide that information to you in closed session. So your law firm can conduct those searches. There are searches for your criminal history, obviously. You can do educational searches, you can do credit searches, you can do whatever searches that you might find to be appropriate for a candidate seeking to be the superintendent. We have also put into your packet just a kind of proposed search timeline that you might want to look at or you could consider. Certainly this is your search. It can go as fast or as slow as you want it to, but this is just a draft of what you could expect if you wanted to move in this direction. But again, that search process is totally up to you. We customize that to you. And then the memo behind the timeline is, again, the details on the American Data Bank. That's that search option and pricing. Again, it's a customized package for you guys. You can decide exactly what information you can request and you want to seek from your candidates that you think may be, that would be, I guess, pertinent to a superintendent search. Now, what I'd like to do is let Dr. Dixon talk to you about how she conducts her searches. Again, my role is really as much or as limited as you want. Our fee structure is structured separately. Dr. Dixon has her fee. Any role that I would do would be on my hourly rate. And sometimes I come to meetings if the board wants me to come to the search meetings, but sometimes I don't. What I may do in my service would be things like negotiating a contract, talking with candidates about what the package you're willing to provide to that candidate and negotiating that before we get to the altar, so to speak. Certainly don't want to get that deep into the search and then have a breakdown or, as like we say, a busted search. We like to kind of have that conversation a little earlier in the process so no one's surprised, okay? And that's the type of role that I would participate in. I'm going to let Dr. Dixon speak to you guys, and then if we have any questions, I'd be happy to.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Just to clarify.
Sure.
So regardless of what search firm we use, we would be using you in that capacity anyway.
I think that's true.
Correct?
I think that's true. Obviously, if you were going to need some legal work, if you don't pick Dr. Dixon and Walsh Gallegos' search, we still have our retainer agreement with you, and I act as your board counsel.
And you
Okay.
would still be helping with the contract and all that?
If that's what you would like me to do, I would absolutely do that.
Okay, so the person actually doing the search would be Dr. Dixon?
That's right,
So, okay.
that's right. So that's why I'm going to let her talk to you guys
Okay,
now,
thank
okay? All right. Trustee Gore, thank you. Anybody else for me? Okay, Dr.
So far, so
Dixon.
good. Well, you're probably thinking she doesn't know what she wants to be when she grows up. So, I've done it always. I've been the interim and not done the search. I've done the search and not been the interim, and I've done them both. And I've done 54 searches completed in this area, kind of loop around Dallas, Red Oak, Waxahachie, Midlothian, Decatur, Lake Dallas, and Dallas. So that's what I've done in your area. I only work with Walsh, and I choose to do that when they use a consultant because it's seamless. There is no finger pointing. When someone does something wrong, it's not the search firm or it's the consultant, it's us. We own it. And I personally like that. I have been an interim when another search firm was doing something, and when it fell apart, I had to be the referee then. I think the safety net you have is if I'm their consultant and there is an unhappy applicant, happens all the time, then I think they back me up. And I think that's important because a disgruntled applicant can taint your search. And so we definitely take care of that. The vetting is what I call extreme vetting. I know, and I will work, as the interim, I'll work with anybody. And because it actually would be Walsh, that I'll still field questions from applicants that are interested in it. I'll answer the questions about this wonderful district. But vetting is important. I rarely call the references on their application because they're all their mother. And I call former employers, I call surrounding superintendents, I call my contacts. And if there's something in their background, you're going to know it. If I know the color of their underwear, you're going to know the color of their underwear. Everything I know, you're going to know. We advertise in TASA, Texas Association of School Administrators, and TexasISD.com. Those truly are the only marketplaces. We used to actually advertise in newspapers, but nobody looks in the newspaper for a job anymore. And I think a plus is, I know your district, I can sell your district. I could sell this district to anybody, y'all. This district is fabulous. And that is, I can't say that about everywhere I go. I think I do reduce my fee to 50%. And you probably say, well, why do you charge me at all? All my work will be not on my interim time because I typically call the applicants at night anyway because I don't want to call them at their place of employment or weekends. And so all of my work is done after hours. So my fee is comparable to the other search firm fees because that fee you have already and all of the legal work that'll be in the background. But I think we will get a good candidate pool. I really do. Your district is in fabulous shape. You know, they're going to look at finances. They're going to look at your academics. They're going to look at your teacher turnover, which we hired one person last night. Really, y'all? Look at everybody else's packets with their hiring the first month of school. Pages and pages. One person, not one page. We used up paper for no reason. We could have just told you. So, but I would love to do it. I completely understand. If you don't select me, I'm going to work with whomever you do select. And do you have any questions?
Dr. Dixon, what's the normal number of candidates that you bring forth initially?
You know, that has really changed over the years. I can remember when I did Burn It and had 78 applicants, and then it started dropping down,
into the 50s range. The two big pluses about this district is your location and your size. If you think there's 1,000 school districts in the state of Texas, and 50% of them have less than 1,000 kids, there's a possibility of 500 superintendents that could be interested in this, because once you become a superintendent, the only way you get a promotion is to go to a bigger district, most of the time. I guess that kind of didn't happen with y'all. So, but I think 40. I think 40. And our return rate is 70% of the people who request an application is, because there'll be a lot of fishermen out there. A lot of people will ask for packets and then not submit them. So we can't go by that, just how many. Sometimes when you ask that question, that's the answer. How many people requested a packet? I've had 100 people requested a packet, and but the average return rate is 70. I've never gone below 50, and I have never had a busted search, never. And that means we have never named the lone finalist, and a contract could not be negotiated. I was also going to say, I'd like you to talk to them about how, when you get the applicants, what you bring to them, right? Like how they'll see every applicant, yeah. We put the folders together. The confidentiality is tight, 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 tight. Nobody in this district will ever see an application. The applications are requested from the law firm, and they're returned to the law firm. They're put in a secure hub then that only I can access. The folders are put together. We then meet, and at a meeting to review the applications. Every folder is put together exactly the same way. There's a letter of interest, transcripts, just so you can quickly go through. We do that, of course, in closed session. I call it my STAR test because I don't let you talk. Everybody is separated. You can't cheat. And you do a matrix of your own, and you score every applicant. And I tell everybody, if they take the time to send in an application, you're going to take the time to review it. You will see every application. I do not come with the top 5 or the top 8 and say, okay, these are. You will see every application. You will then score them, and we do a matrix. And from the matrix, it rank orders all of your scores, and it'll be the first time that you see what your peers put. And you'll be very surprised. You are always more alike than different. And that I call that the discussing and cussing session. That's when you're going to say, why in the world why did you give that person a 2? They're a dud, And they say, well, but I noticed this, this, and this. Oh, I hadn't noticed that. So then that matrix starts to change. Well, I want to change because you either scored a 0, do not interview, a 1, possibly interview, or 2, definitely. And then you might say, I want to change my 0 to a 1. And as that process happens, all of that changes because it's live then. We're doing it as you change your score and as you guys debate and convince each other. And you will have, I do a poop sheet. That's my sophisticated name, even though the law firm keeps telling me to change it. But on this poop sheet, I call every single applicant. Every applicant. Heaven forbid if we ever get 200, because I'll have cauliflower ear. But I do a poop sheet, and you will see those. I put it on the front of their application, and I ask all the illegal questions. And but I do it nice. And like, would your spouse need employment in the district? Now, I'm not trying to find out if they're married, but I'm trying to find out if their spouse needs employment. I ask all those questions, so when you go to look at these folders that we're going to do in our STAR test day, they get passed around. You see that, and I give them an A, B, or C. So I pre-screen them, but you still have to see everyone. I pre-screen them. An A is a person who meets the qualifications that y'all set. Y'all are going to do a profile of your applicant, and that's going to be published. A B are the people who are quality people, probably could do the job, but let's say you guys say they have to have a doctorate, and this person doesn't, or they're all but dissertation, or something like that. The C group is the Dairy Queen manager and all the people who think they can be a superintendent and either don't have the credentials or have what I call red flags. High mobility, buyouts, just an illustrious career. But you will know that. But if you want to pick out a C and interview them, I don't care. I say this, and somebody told me one time I kind of insulted, and I didn't mean it. I feel like I'm the brain of the search, but you're the heart. You know the match. I don't know who's going to work well with you. I'll bring you the credentials, what I can find out about their background, their successes and failures, but you're going to have to, through the interview process, look at that person. Would this be a good fit? And I tell everybody this also. Sometime during this process, one or all of you will say to me, Dixon, who would you hire? And I won't answer that question. I won't answer it. You get to figure that one out. Have any questions?
You are not doing any other search right now, correct?
Oh, no, I am not.
Okay.
No.
Just want to go ahead and put that on record. Okay, thank you. Questions? Okay. Ooh, that's pretty good. Okay, so we've gone through what you would do for vetting. You've already done, several different sizes. So what you're going to be doing, if we were to hire you, is changing you from working 40 hours a week to 60. Right? Is that what I'm understanding?
I'd say 80.
80?
I'm
Okay.
probably working. Like I said, the evenings, I would do everything in the evenings. I mean, who wants to go to a hotel at night?
Well, that's true.
And
That's true.
so, except at my hotel, it's like nice. And so, but I've done it so many times as the interim, I kind of know how to pace myself in doing that. I don't know, I just love to work. I don't know how to explain it. And you know the old saying, if you want a job done, give it to a busy person.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem with that just because, now if this was the first time I ever did a search in an interim, I'd probably be shaking right now. But I've done it so many times, and it's almost, doing a search while you're the interim is easier than doing the search and you're not the interim.
Okay.
Because you really got to do a lot more guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of have the feel. I know when I call these people and do my poop sheet, if I hear something that's on my radar, I dig into it with them. Okay, well, what about this? Well, what if they prohibit the spouse from working in the district? Is that a deal breaker? What if you can't get here for 6 months? Well, I'm leaving. You better get your butt here. So, but I do all of that in my poop sheet. You will see every bit of that. Anything that concerns me, because I have a different depth and perception as the interim. I know your people now. Mm-hmm. I know your schools. I already knew the service center in the region. I was the interim twice at Cedar Hill, and I was the interim at Decatur, and I did their searches while I was the interim.
Anyone have any questions? All right, thank you all very much, and thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and talk now. We'll make a decision. I'll call everybody tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for driving up here, Joey.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Okay, so. First off,
I would like to open with, gosh darn it, why couldn't they give these to us 2 or 3 days ago? I mean, we have so much information here that we're not going to be able to go through. And that's disappointing, but they were consistent. They all did. So I will open up with Nancy. Do you have any thoughts, comments? Before you start, the one thing, you made a really good comment, Courtney, that I want to make sure everybody realizes. Walsh Gallegos is our legal firm. It doesn't matter which of these three we use. Walsh Gallegos is going to do the legal work, put the contract together. So that is separate. Looking at the three contracts, Emmett, would I be correct in saying that they're all going to wash out to be approximately the same amount of money? Okay, so just for the record, that is not an issue with these three. We have the same legal tube with all three. So, given that,
I could beat around the bush and I could go through each one of these, but I'm just going to be more direct and cut to the chase. And I think all three are very qualified. I think they were good presentations, but I believe Arrow came out on top, and then they would be my first choice.
Well, apparently Nancy and I are on the same wavelength tonight. They were all good. I know TASB has a stigma, and I know they do a really good job, but the enthusiasm of Arrow, the experience they had, the contacts they had, I feel like that's the best fit as well.
I think they all did a great presentation. They answered all our questions for the most part before we asked most of them. I believe Dr. Dixon has a unique position, being an interim, to know our district inside and out. With that said, though, I would have to agree. I feel like Arrow came out on top. I actually wrote down on the paper, hired. But I really appreciated his enthusiasm and passion. I don't think we could go wrong with Walsh or with Arrow. I think the stigma that TASB has in the community would be a negative for us, and we're trying to avoid that at all costs. I would like us to have buy-in at all levels with this process. So I think that, for me, eliminates TASB. And I agree with Mike Moore and Nancy Alana that Arrow came out on top.
I think all three of them would be a good choice. I have Arrow down as number 2. I'd rather go with Dr. Dixon. And the main thing that I see with Arrow is most of the school districts that they chose are smaller than ours, a good number of them. Of course, half the school districts in Texas, like they said, are smaller than 1,000 people. But it seems like they kind of narrow in on that. It seems like most of the districts that they listed were in that smaller category. So I would probably go with Dr. Dixon first.
I would like to see the community come together, and I think there is a lot of stigma with TASB and Walsh and Gallegos. So my pick is Arrow as well.
well, I've done a lot of investigating of all three, talking to school boards around the state to kind of, that have been going through this. I mean, we have to understand that a lot of school districts are looking for superintendents right now. And so there were a lot of school districts I could talk to their board presidents and find out, okay, which one worked really well. And the two that I heard about were Arrow and Walsh Gallegos, which is why they were brought in. And I wanted a third, and we have TASB. I agree with the sentiments of TASB. I think all three could do a good job for us. I do believe one of our main goals with coming up with a good superintendent is bringing our district together, our community together. So I agree with that. Walsh Gallegos is going to do all three. So to me, it's looking at, do we want Ann or do we want Dr. Marshall? And I'm really having a very hard time with that, because I see it would be great because she knows our district, Ann knows our district, she knows what we're looking for. But at the same time, I agree with the enthusiasm that Dr. Marshall has, and he's not doing anything else. This would be his full-time job. And there wasn't a person who is a superintendent or a deputy superintendent that I talked to that did not know Dr. Marshall. He is very well known. So is Dr. Dixon. I'm leaning toward Arrow, just because I want Ann to spend her time on our district and let someone else do the search.
She will work with any search firm that we choose. And I think Dr. Marshall said he knows Dr. Dixon.
Yes,
so
they know
they
each
could
other
work
very
well
well.
together if that's the route we went.
That is correct, yes. She would not do the search. She works with Walsh Gallegos for searches. But if Dr. Marshall had a particular person and he wanted to bounce an idea off of Dr. Dixon, do you think this person would fit at Granbury ISD? And would answer the question. So yes, I have already talked to Dr. Dixon about that. Other comments? Thoughts? Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
Sure. Madam President, I move that we approve Arrow Education Services to be the search firm for the superintendent.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion before we vote?
Now, as I said earlier, I believe any of the three would be good, and I'm fine with Arrow as well.
Any other? Okay, let us vote. All those in favor of Arrow as our search firm, please raise your hand. We are unanimous. Fantastic. I will call everybody tomorrow and let them know. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for being out there tonight, and I hope that the community has learned a lot today and will be happy with the process we are going to go through. Thank you. The time is now 6:36, and we are adjourned.